Welcome to our channel HD Rare Coin 111, your go-to spot for uncovering the incredible world of rare US coins. If you've ever wondered if your old pennies, nickels, or dimes are worth more than face value, you're about to find out. In today's video, we'll be exploring some truly rare coins and their shocking values. And if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. So let's jump in. Top 1. Have you ever held a coin in your hand and wondered what stories it could tell? What if I told you that a simple, copper-colored coin, something as small and ordinary as a Lincoln 1-cent penny from 1985, could be hiding a secret that could make it worth more than some brand new luxury cars today? Yes, the 1985 Lincoln penny, a coin we often ignore and toss into jars, has surprised collectors and investors alike with its fascinating variations and unexpected value. Let's journey back to 1985, a year filled with cultural shifts, economic changes, and fast-paced technological advancements. Ronald Reagan was in the White House. Back to the Future was lighting up movie screens, and personal computers were beginning to enter American homes. Amid all these transformative events, the United States Mint was busy producing billions of pennies, over 5.2 billion of them, in fact. At first glance, the 1985 Lincoln cent appears like any other coin. But not all of them were created equal. This particular penny carries the familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the side facing us when we flip it out of our palms. It's the same design introduced back in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. And on the reverse side, we see the Lincoln Memorial, a structure not only grand in real life, but carefully rendered in miniature detail on the coin itself. Look closely, and you'll spot an almost hidden depiction of the seated Lincoln inside the monument, a clever design feature that often goes unnoticed by casual viewers. By 1985, the composition of the penny had already shifted. In 1982, the Mint had changed the formula from 95% copper to a core of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating. This change was driven by rising metal costs, but it also introduced new challenges in the minting process. The thinner plating and softer zinc core made the coins more prone to striking errors, corrosion, and planchet flaws. While most of these flawed coins were discarded during quality control, some managed to slip through and enter circulation. And that's where the real excitement begins. Among coin collectors and enthusiasts, error coins are like buried treasure. A 1985 penny with a double die, off-center strike, die cracks, or even an unusually strong strike can be dramatically more valuable than its peers. Imagine finding a 1985 penny where Lincoln's image appears doubled, or the words "E pluribus unum" are slightly misaligned. These small quirks, visible only to the sharp-eyed collector, are the hallmarks of rarity in the world of numismatics. But it's not just errors that make a 1985 penny valuable. Condition plays a massive role. Most pennies from that era have been circulated so heavily that their surfaces are worn, their details dulled. However, a few have survived in pristine mint state condition. These coins have sharp features, brilliant color, and no signs of wear, as if they were struck yesterday. Finding a 1985 penny in such condition is no easy task, but for those lucky enough to stumble upon one, the reward can be staggering. Collectors often search for high-grade examples graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. A high-grade specimen, say, a penny graded MS67 or higher, can attract serious attention in auctions. These coins are not just collectibles, they're investments. Their value is driven by rarity, condition, and demand, and yes, there's a strong and growing demand for rare Lincoln cents. It's also worth mentioning that the 1985 penny sits in an interesting spot in history. It's part of the modern era of coins, yet old enough now to be considered vintage by many collectors. It bridges the gap between the older, heavier copper coins and the newer, lighter zinc ones. That makes it especially intriguing to those who appreciate the evolution of American coinage. So next time you find yourself digging through loose change, take a moment. Look carefully. That coppery coin from 1985 could be more than just pocket change, it could be a hidden gem, an overlooked piece of American history waiting to be discovered. It could be a conversation starter, a collector's dream, or even a ticket to financial surprise. And now, for the part you've been waiting for, just how much can a 1985 Lincoln 1-cent penny be worth? While most are still worth just a single cent, the rarest and most pristine examples, those with striking errors or near perfect grades, have sold for as much as $76,000. Yes, that's $76,000 for a penny. Isn't that incredible? Keep your eyes open, because you never know what treasure you might be carrying in your pocket. Top 2. In a world where coins pass through our hands every single day, it's easy to overlook the silent history carried in their designs, the details etched in metal, and the untold stories that come with time. But among the billions of coins minted over the years, some are hiding secrets. Some are rare. Some are valuable. And some, like the Lincoln 1-cent penny from 1978, have taken the coin collecting world by storm. You might think it's just a penny. But what if that little coin you barely notice could actually be worth thousands? Let's rewind time to 1978, a year brimming with history and change. It was a time when the world was grooving to disco, Jimmy Carter was the President of the United States, and the space race was entering a new chapter. It was also a year when the United States Mint produced a seemingly ordinary coin, the Lincoln cent. With billions struck across Philadelphia and Denver mints, the 1978 penny was never expected to be particularly special. But sometimes, rarity hides in plain sight. The Lincoln penny, originally introduced in 1909, was already a staple in American pockets by 1978. Its obverse proudly features the profile of President Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president, whose legacy lives on not just in history books, but also in pocket change. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln cent was the first American coin to depict a real person, marking a major shift in U.S. coinage. The reverse, at that time, still showcased the Lincoln Memorial, a tribute to the enduring respect and admiration for the president who held the nation together during the Civil War. But despite the familiar design, what makes the 1978 Lincoln penny fascinating is not just its imagery or historic symbolism, it's the incredible variations, subtle errors, and rare minting quirks that make certain 1978 cents extraordinarily valuable. While the vast majority are still just worth face value, there are a handful of 1978 pennies that have proven to be far more than meets the eye. Let's talk about errors. These are the golden tickets of coin collecting. A double die, for example, is when the coin is struck more than once during minting, creating a noticeable doubling in inscriptions or design elements. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't properly aligned during minting, resulting in a visibly misaligned image. And then there are die cracks, filled mint marks, and transitional errors. Each of these minting mistakes creates a coin that is truly one of a kind, and for collectors, that kind of uniqueness is priceless. Another critical factor in determining value is condition. Coin collectors live by a grading system, and the higher the grade, the higher the value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with mint state 70 being a flawless coin with no blemishes under magnification. Finding a 1978 penny in mint state condition is rare, especially because most pennies have been heavily circulated over the years. A perfect or near-perfect coin from 1978 is like finding a needle in a haystack. And when you do, it can command astonishing prices. What really lights the fire in a collector's heart is the thrill of discovery. You could be holding a coin right now that's far more valuable than you realize. Maybe it's been sitting in a jar on your dresser, passed down from a relative, or simply came to you in change from a local shop. The mystery, the hunt, and the chance to find a true gem hiding among the ordinary, that's what makes coin collecting such a captivating journey. And let's not forget the story behind the metal. The 1978 penny was struck using 95% copper and 5% zinc, the last few years before the mint transitioned to the cheaper zinc ore pennies in 1982. That makes the 1978 coin one of the last to carry the full weight and value of copper, a detail that adds even more interest and desirability for collectors who appreciate historical transitions in coin composition. All of these elements, historic design, rare errors, high-grade condition, and the changing metal content, combined to make the 1978 Lincoln penny an exciting piece of American numismatic history. It's more than just a coin. It's a symbol of an era, a collector's prize, and, in the right circumstances, an item of immense value. So, the next time you dig through a coin jar, open a cash drawer, or check the change from your latest purchase, take a closer look. That ordinary penny dated 1978 might be hiding a story that only a few lucky collectors will ever uncover. And for those who do find the rarest, most perfect versions of this coin, the reward can be truly unbelievable. One extraordinary example of the 1978 Lincoln 1-cent penny, graded in flawless condition and displaying a remarkable minting anomaly, was valued at an astonishing $96,000. Yes, that's $96,000 for a single penny. It's proof that even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprises. Top 3. Imagine holding in your hand a coin so common, so familiar, that it almost blends into the background of everyday life. Now imagine learning that this tiny piece of copper could be worth more than a brand new luxury car. That's right, we're talking about the United States of America Lincoln 1-cent penny from the year 1964. A coin that most people wouldn't think twice about, but for collectors, it could be a hidden gem, a rare treasure with a story to tell and a value that defies its humble appearance. The year 1964 was a turning point in American history. The country was in the midst of transformation, politically, socially, and culturally. Civil rights movements were gaining momentum, the Beatles were beginning to dominate the American music scene, and the Cold War loomed over every aspect of life. Amid all this, the U.S. Mint continued its steady production of coins, including the iconic Lincoln cent, which had already become one of the most beloved pieces of American coinage. The Lincoln penny, introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Designed by Victor David Brenner, its enduring image of Lincoln on the obverse and, as of 1959, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, made it instantly recognizable and widely respected. The 1964 version continued that tradition, struck in 95% copper and 5% zinc. It was the last year of its kind before the mint saw major changes in composition due to rising metal costs. In 1964 alone, the U.S. Mint produced billions of these pennies, making it one of the most common dates in circulation. But that's where the twist comes in. Despite the massive mintage, not all coins are created equal. Some 1964 pennies stand out due to their pristine condition, rare mint errors, or unique die varieties. These are the coins that capture the attention of serious collectors, the ones that elevate a simple penny into a valuable and desirable artifact. So, what exactly makes a 1964 penny valuable? The first factor is condition. Most of the pennies from this era were heavily circulated, showing signs of wear and tear. But those rare examples that were never used, stored away in mint sets, forgotten in drawers, or tucked inside a collection, can still appear today in brilliant uncirculated or even mint state condition. A Lincoln penny from 1964 graded MS65 or higher is not something you see every day, and collectors are willing to pay a premium for that level of preservation. Then there are the mint errors, the crown jewels of the coin world. These might include double die obverse or reverses, where the coin was struck twice slightly off alignment, creating a shadow or doubling effect on the inscriptions. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin is visibly misaligned, and coins with clipped planchets, repunched mint marks, or die cracks. Each error makes the coin unique, and in the world of numismatics, uniqueness equals value. The 1964 penny also has historical weight behind it. It marked the final year before major shifts in U.S. coinage began to take shape. By 1965, the mint began eliminating silver from dimes and quarters, and soon after, the cost of producing copper pennies began to outweigh their face value. As a result, later pennies transitioned to a copper-plated zinc composition. That makes the 1964 Lincoln penny not only a collectible for its rarity, but also a symbolic bridge between two eras of American money. Collectors also look for pennies with strong, crisp details and full red luster, indicating the coin retained its original color from the moment it left the press. Red pennies are often worth more than their brown or red-brown counterparts, simply because they show less oxidation and wear. When you find a 1964 Lincoln penny with its original red shine, no scratches, no dings, and all its features perfectly preserved, you're looking at something very special. It's easy to overlook a penny. After all, they're everywhere, or at least they used to be. But among those countless little coins, a select few rise far above the rest. They tell stories. They carry secrets. And sometimes, they carry an extraordinary price tag, and that brings us to the climax of today's story. A particular 1964 Lincoln 1-cent penny, discovered in near-perfect condition with an extremely rare mint error, sent shockwaves through the coin collecting community. After being authenticated and graded by a reputable service, it was auctioned to an eager collector who knew exactly what they were getting, an irreplaceable piece of numismatic history. That penny sold for a jaw-dropping $126,000. Yes, you heard that right. One single penny. One tiny copper coin. Sold for $126,000. It's a reminder that the smallest things can sometimes hold the greatest value. So before you toss your change into a jar or overlook a dusty coin in a drawer, take a second look. You just might be holding a fortune in the palm of your hand. Top 4. In a world where most people glance at a penny and toss it aside without a second thought, there lies a hidden treasure that can completely change the way you view pocket change forever. Let's take a step back in time to the year 1975, a year filled with cultural shifts, technological advancements, and behind the scenes, the quiet production of a coin that would go on to spark awe among collectors decades later. Yes, we're talking about the United States of America Lincoln 1-cent penny minted in 1975. At first glance, it's just a small, reddish-brown coin with the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the front. But take a closer look, and you might discover something extraordinary, something that has turned a simple penny into a collector's dream. The Lincoln cent has been part of American coinage since 1909, honoring the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Over the decades, its design has seen subtle changes, but its essence has remained timeless. By 1975, the Lincoln cent was still being struck in its traditional 95% copper and 5% zinc composition, a formula that would soon change due to rising copper costs. That very detail makes pennies from this era particularly desirable. The coin's reverse still bore the image of the Lincoln Memorial, a majestic tribute introduced in 1959 to replace the earlier wheat ears design. Together, the obverse and reverse represented both historical reverence and American craftsmanship. The 1975 penny was produced in massive numbers at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Billions entered circulation. You could find them in your lunch money, pocket change, on sidewalks, or sitting forgotten in jars across the country. But as is often the case in the world of numismatics, not all coins are created equal. Some of these seemingly ordinary pennies possess qualities that make them incredibly rare and extremely valuable. So what transforms an everyday 1975 penny into a collector's treasure? It begins with condition. Most of these coins have been touched by countless hands, rattled in countless drawers, and show the wear and tear of nearly 5 decades. But on rare occasions, a 1975 penny surfaces in pristine, uncirculated condition, flawless, lustrous, and perfectly struck. These coins are the envy of collectors, especially when they're certified by top grading agencies at high mint state levels like MS-66 or MS-67. A coin in this condition is not just old, it's preserved like a time capsule, untouched by the years. But it doesn't stop there. Another major factor that drives value is the presence of minting errors. These errors occur during the production process at the mint, and they are like lightning captured in metal. Doubled die obverse, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or coins struck on the wrong metal planchets. These anomalies instantly turn a regular penny into a one-of-a-kind collectible. Imagine finding a 1975 penny where Lincoln's portrait appears slightly doubled, or where the coin is clearly misaligned. These types of errors are incredibly rare and highly sought after, not just by collectors but also by investors looking to own a piece of unrepeatable history. What makes these coins even more interesting is how easy they are to miss. Many era coins go unnoticed for years, mistaken for damage or manufacturing flaws. They might sit in drawers or old piggy banks until someone with a sharp eye and a bit of curiosity recognizes their potential. The thrill of coin collecting often lies in this treasure hunt, the possibility that something amazing could be hiding in plain sight. Let's not forget the historical context either. The year 1975 was a time of uncertainty and innovation. The United States was recovering from the aftermath of the Vietnam War, facing economic shifts, and witnessing the cultural revolutions of the post-60s era. A coin from this year carries with it the weight of that time period, tiny yet tangible evidence of American resilience and change. Collectors often describe finding a rare coin as like discovering a rare book in a dusty attic or stumbling upon a masterpiece at a garage sale. It's about the story, the rarity, and the connection to a time and place that's long gone. That's what makes the 1975 Lincoln penny so captivating. Not because it's flashy or ornate, but because of the mystery it carries and the history it holds in its copper surface. So, the next time you're handed a penny and change, pause for a moment. Turn it over. Look at the date. Inspect the design. What may seem like a common coin could be your gateway into a fascinating world of history, art, and hidden value. And if you're fortunate enough to find a 1975 Lincoln penny in flawless condition with a striking error or stunning luster, know that you might be holding a small fortune in the palm of your hand. Because one such 1975 Lincoln 1-cent penny, discovered in exceptional condition and featuring a rare die variety, was recently valued at an astonishing $86,000. Yes, you heard right. That's $86,000 for a single, humble penny. So keep your eyes open, your coins safe, and your curiosity alive. The next great discovery could be waiting right in your pocket. Top 5. Every coin in your pocket carries a story, a slice of history forged in metal and molded by time. Some tell tales of routine commerce and everyday transactions, while others, quietly and rarely, hold secrets that make them treasures worth thousands. Today, let's explore one such seemingly modest piece of American history, the Lincoln 1-cent penny minted in the year 1968. At first glance, this small copper coin may not catch your eye. But beneath its reddish hue and aged surface lies a world of intrigue, history, and astonishing value that continues to captivate collectors and historians alike. The Lincoln penny has been a fixture in U.S. currency since 1909, introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. With the beloved profile of the 16th president proudly featured on the obverse, this coin has been in circulation longer than most Americans have been alive. The 1968 Lincoln cent is especially interesting, as it was produced during a time of major social and political upheaval in the United States. The country was in the midst of the Vietnam War, the civil rights movement was still echoing strongly, and America had just mourned the loss of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy. All of this gives coins minted during this era a deep sense of historical gravity. Produced at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, the 1968 Lincoln cent continued the traditional design that had been in use since 1959, Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. However, it's what we can't always see at first glance that makes this coin truly remarkable. In 1968, the U.S. Mint resumed the use of proof coins, striking highly polished examples at the San Francisco Mint. These proof coins have a mirror-like finish and are often the highest quality pieces available. But even among non-proof issues, some extraordinary errors and pristine specimens have surfaced over the years, catching the attention of seasoned collectors and auction houses alike. Now here's where the story gets really interesting. Among billions of regular Lincoln cents, a small number of 1968 pennies have emerged as rare gems due to unique minting errors. Some feature dramatic double dies, where parts of the design appear duplicated, especially on the date or lettering. Others show off center strikes, clipped planchets, or even coins struck on the wrong metal. These are not mistakes to be overlooked. They are marvels of minting history, and collectors pursue them relentlessly because of their rarity and distinctiveness. One of the most desirable varieties from 1968 is the double die obverse from the San Francisco Mint, abbreviated as 1968 SDDO. If you come across a 1968 penny and the date, or the word Liberty, appears to have a ghostly shadow or duplicated lines, you might just be looking at one of these rare types. But be warned, spotting these details requires a sharp eye and sometimes even magnification. That's why so many people pass over these coins without ever realizing what they held in their hands. Beyond errors, condition is another powerful factor when determining a coin's value. The term mint state, abbreviated as MS, is used to describe coins that show no signs of wear. A 1968 Lincoln penny graded at MS 67 or higher is extremely hard to find. Why? Because most pennies were used daily, passed hand to hand in an age before credit cards and mobile payments. To find a coin from 1968 that has survived in perfect condition for more than 50 years is nothing short of remarkable. Collectors know this, and when one appears, demand skyrockets. And let's not forget the material. In 1968, the Lincoln penny was still composed of 95% copper. That might not seem like much, but it makes a difference. As copper became more expensive, later pennies were made with cheaper materials. But the rich, heavy feel of a solid copper cent from the 1960s gives these older coins an authenticity that modern issues lack. The color, texture, and weight appeal to collectors not just visually, but emotionally. Holding a copper penny from this era is like holding a piece of Americana. Now imagine combining all of these elements: historic context, rarity, minting errors, and perfect preservation, and finding one single coin that has it all. It's not just a penny anymore. It's a story, a relic, an investment, and a collector's dream rolled into one small disc of copper. And for those lucky enough to stumble upon such a specimen, it could mean a major financial windfall. That brings us to one particularly extraordinary 1968 Lincoln 1-cent penny that broke all expectations. This coin, bearing a rare die variety, was preserved in flawless condition and drew immense interest from numismatists and investors alike. When it finally made its appearance in a major coin auction, it was appraised, authenticated, and valued at a jaw-dropping amount. That single 1968 Lincoln penny, thanks to its rarity and remarkable preservation, was worth $116,000. Yes, you heard that right, one penny, valued at $116,000. So the next time you're sorting through a handful of change or emptying that old piggy bank, take a moment to check the dates. You never know when a small, forgotten coin might change your life forever.